I wanted a place for people to go every Sunday to wake up. Thought-provoking,
Oh, you couldn't have said that better.
eye-opening, and inspiring.
This is my favorite thing to talk about.
This'll lift you right on up. It's food for your soul.
Every single Sunday.
This is Super Soul Sunday. Born in Chicago and raised a devout Catholic, Carolyn May says she was just 8 years old when she discovered her gift, her intuition. I first met Carolyn in 1998. By then, she had become well known for doing readings to help people heal.
I just feel like I'm falling apart. I mean, literally falling apart.
I think your childhood wasn't long enough. You had to be the mother to your mother.
Is that true?
True. Very true.
Carolyn said she could also gauge people's health without a physical examination and referred to herself as a medical intuitive.
I feel like cold feet, cold hands, imbalance. I can't get any sense of balance in your body at all.
The response from our viewers was overwhelming, and Carolyn came back to the show 3 more times.
The concept of spirit.
I can't believe it's been nearly 15 years since we last spoke. So I invited Carolyn to Harpo Studios to get together and talk and hear her unique perspective on some of life's big questions that will help us all feed our soul. 1998, we're sitting in the other studio, right across this wall, and we were talking about this book.
Yeah.
And you and I were really into it and having a conversation. I look out in the audience and I see people's eyes, not glazing over, but just I could tell they were not with us. And I stopped. Do you remember this?
Yes, I
I
do.
stopped taping and I said, okay, everybody, stop. Do you all understand what we're talking about? I said, we're talking about anatomy of the spirit. And a woman stood up and said, no, we really don't. What are you talking about, spirit? You're not sure? So spirit is a foreign concept here?
Spirit is a foreign concept, sort of to away from me, or more religious.
Spirit is religious.
To me,
To
when
you.
I think of that.
You stopped to explain what we meant by spirit. Can you do that again for all of our super soul family?
I sure can. I think this the way to understand your spirit is that it's the part of you that is seeking meaning and purpose. That's one way someone can relate to that. Another way to understand spirit is that it's the part of you that feels, that is drawn to hope. That's one way to understand spirit.
The part of you that is drawn to hope.
Everyone can relate to that.
Right.
The part of your spirit that is simply drawn to hope, that will not give in to despair. The part of you that has to believe in goodness.
Yeah.
That has to believe in something more.
It's the light of you.
It's the light of you.
Yeah.
But light needs to have a word. Like, what does that feel like? It feels like hope.
Feels like hope.
It feels like grace.
Okay,
it feels
that's really
like
clear.
love.
I got that.
Everyone can get that.
Yeah.
Because nobody wants to be hopeless. It's the part that says, no, 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 I gotta have hope.
That's a tweetable quote there. Your spirit is a part of you that feels like hope.
Yep, there it is.
Tweet, tweet.
There it is.
There it is.
There it is. And everyone says, I get that.
I get that.
I get that.
Okay. You say in Anatomy of Spirit, page 170, from a spiritual perspective, in fact, the entire physical world is nothing more than our classroom. But the challenge to each of us in this classroom is, will you make the choices that you make to enhance your spirit or those that drain your power?
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that you said that, because I had just earlier today was explaining to someone that I think the world is a whole classroom, and probably I read it in this book 15 years ago and am now taking that on to be my own explanation. But that's how I see the world, as this super classroom, and that's why the idea of what we do on this channel, life class, using other people's life as a class, using your life as a class is so stimulating to me.
Well, that's the whole, and seeing
So
your
this is
whole,
the Earth School.
It is an Earth School. It is an earth school. And if you saw everything about your life as a learning, as a lesson, as I'm looking for truth, I'm looking for, does this drain power? Am I empowering with every choice I make? I'm either choosing to grace somebody or withhold it, to give power or to take it back. If people understand that every single thing, I'm either going to learn something from this or I'm not.
So every single choice we make is either going to enhance the spirit,
That's right.
or it's going to drain
Totally.
the spirit.
There's nothing in between. There is nothing in between. What one choice? Well, give me one choice that could be in between. There isn't.
There isn't.
There isn't.
Another way to say that is you're either walking in the direction of love or you're walking away
Totally.
from it. You're walking to fear, right?
There is no other choice. But even if you thought, even if you're in a grocery store and you're thinking, should I buy this or not? And your gut says, you know, you can't eat that. And you decide, I'm not going to listen to that voice. Right there, even in that tiny thing, you've walked toward fear.
Wow.
Because you've
Yes.
blocked your intuitive
So
voice.
every day, in the smallest of ways and the largest of ways, we're either giving
Yeah.
ourselves power or taking
That's
away
right.
from it. I
That's
get that.
right.
I get that. I get that. You said back in 1998, I'm not born here to have a personality. I'm born here to have a spirit. And you say that each of us is born with a purpose for being alive. You call that, and actually wrote a book called Sacred Contracts.
Right.
The sacred contract is the reason you were born. Then if it is the reason you were born, why are so many people confused about what the contract says?
Because you know what? It's first. A contract's not a literal document. That's the first thing we have to understand.
Right.
Our sacred contract is what we could think of as a spiritual document that our soul recognizes, okay?
I love that. A
A
spiritual
document
document that our soul recognizes. Sometimes I have to repeat it to get it,
Yeah.
to push it all the way through.
Yeah,
Okay?
absolutely.
Okay.
You know how we say things like, I just have to be true to myself?
Self. Yes, yeah.
And if someone said, like, what does that mean? You say, there's something I know I was meant to do. There's something I know. I mean, Abraham Lincoln felt that way. There's all these great people who've always said, there's something I know I was meant to do. That knowingness is what the soul understands. I was born and it was for a purpose. You have agreements, fundamental agreements that you simply feel. You can't put your finger on them because they reveal themselves to you within the context of your life, through coincidence, through synchronicity, through obligations you can't get out of, through mad love you can't stop no matter what you do.
That was your sacred contract.
These are all parts of it.
Parts of your sacred contract.
All parts of it that together form the whole of your contract, yeah.
You say many people are confused or completely in the dark about their reason for living. That's
Right.
what I was saying. How can you be so confused about your reason for being here?
You know why? Because they define it by what they want versus what they have.
Oh, this is the thing that you say that I love the most. Well, lots of things I love the most, but okay. You say that people suffer when they pursue a life or chase a dream that doesn't belong to them.
There you
There
go.
it is.
There it is.
There you go. You said it.
I mean, yeah.
Explain what
okay.
you mean by that, though. I thought that was so profound.
Absolutely. Well, people get fixated on something, and they have to have it, or they
Especially in this culture of literally American Idol.
exactly American Idol.
We
Even
call
the
it
name,
that.
even that.
And that's exactly even the name.
even the name.
The
You
very
idolize
idea of that.
something that you doesn't belong to you. That life doesn't belong to you.
Yes.
But in our society, we're taught to imitate something, to want something that doesn't belong to us.
And that is what causes the suffering.
And yes,
Because you're pursuing a life that really even wasn't meant for you.
Right.
So then the question becomes, how do you know what is the life or the path that is meant for you?
well, that is not so difficult as people think.
Yeah.
First of all, it's not. It's really, really not.
Oh, that's the big question, though.
Yeah, it is.
If you can answer that this Sunday morning, you are good. I'm going to take a break and come back and let you answer that because I want you to collect all.
right, I will do that.
Okay, good. Okay.
I will do
okay.
that.
Coming up, lots more tweetable moments.
If you have life, you have purpose.
Tweet, tweet.
It's,
When Super Soul Sunday returns. Tweet, tweet. Okay, so how do you know? That's the big
I know,
question.
I know.
Okay, how do you know you're on the right path? You were saying that it's not as hard as we may think.
no, it's not. It's not at all.
Okay, before you answer that, does everybody, before you answer that, does everybody have a path
Totally.
that is the best path for them?
Everyone has a path. No one falls from a tree without
Yeah.
just, right?
So
Everyone
there's
has a
nobody
path.
here on earth whose life doesn't have a purpose or a path.
Correct.
Correct.
Absolutely no one.
Okay.
If you have life, you have purpose.
Okay.
That's, and you know, as an exercise on the aside,
That's a good tweet.
if you have life, you have purpose.
Tweet, tweet.
It's,
That's a good one. If you have life,
You
you
have
have purpose. And that is true of every one of the 7
everything.
billion of us.
Totally. It
Yeah.
can't be otherwise. And this is why I absolutely love studying the work of the mystics, because this is what's so extraordinary. The tiniest truth is the same at the big level. If you have life, one drop of life, one atom is as purposeful as our planet.
Wow.
What is in one is in the whole.
Wow.
It can't be otherwise. It cannot. Now,
Now, I knew that, and I say that, but I just got that in a different way. Makes me want to weep.
it does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The magnitude of
The
that
magnet-
makes me want to
It
weep.
cannot be otherwise.
Yeah. Isn't that something?
You cannot take this one atom out and say it is separate from the whole. You cannot.
Yeah.
I cannot take you out
Yeah.
and say you are separate from the whole.
Yeah,
But
I
there
know
is
that.
one. There it is.
I know
That's
that.
it.
I know that.
Now
you just
say-
reminded me. That's
Really,
good,
it
yeah.
doesn't. It goes to your soul.
It goes to my soul.
And someone says, well, how do I find my life purpose? I first say to you, you've never lost your life purpose. Okay, now we're going to get over that in a minute. Number two,
Okay.
I have to say to you,
Yeah.
have no judgments about your life, no expectations, and give up the need to know what happens tomorrow.
Have no judgments,
No expectations.
no expectations,
And give up the need to know what happens tomorrow.
and give up the need.
to know what happens tomorrow.
Tweet on that too. Go
Okay?
ahead.
I need you to be fully present, just fully present, and to appreciate all that is in your life right now. Just
No
right
matter
now.
where it is.
No matter where it is, no matter what it is, to appreciate fully. And what a person does
I
is
can't pay my bills. I lost my job.
Okay.
I mean, I'm speaking
Right,
for
no,
people
I
who are
know.
watching who are. you know,
Absolutely. Still, I would say to these people,
I'm in the depths of despair.
you are in the depths of despair, and
Right.
still I need to say to you,
You need to say to me,
you had your life focused on something that didn't belong to you and a path that didn't belong to you. Yes, you did, or you wouldn't be here. You locked in on something that did not belong to you, someone that didn't belong to you. You didn't let go of a yesterday that didn't belong to you. You hung on to a rage that did belong to you and you wouldn't let it go. You lost track of being here, and that is true. Or this is what you did.
a track of being here
Yes.
now.
Or something happened to you and you said this, it shouldn't have. And you never got over it. One of those things happened and you said it shouldn't have happened to me. I promise you that happened. When someone finally said, it's not my life, I don't know how I lost my purpose. No, you didn't. You did not lose your purpose. What you lost was this sense that you thought certain things shouldn't happen to you, and they did. As if you were excluded from the ordinary, everyday things of life, and you can't get over it.
So, to live with no judgment
No expectation.
and no expectation.
Yeah, no expectation. In the sense, think about this. Expectations are that certain things should not happen to you that happen to ordinary people.
I got it.
People hold the idea of being ordinary in absolute contempt. please God, make me anything but not ordinary. Right?
Yes, 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 yes.
And because they do that, they feel like they should be protected from ordinary things.
That's right.
So when something like happens, like an illness, poverty, any kind of catastrophe, I can't believe this happened to me. Well,
Right. So many people
Right.
spend so much time in the shock. They
Right.
never get to move through the other stages
Right.
because they're stuck in, I can't believe this happened to me.
And
Yeah.
who did you think it was going to happen to? Them,
Them.
the person across the street. And it makes them think, I must be on the wrong path.
Yeah.
And why is that? Because something bad happened to you?
Yeah.
Something you thought was bad? What if it was the best thing that ever happened? One of the stories I love to tell, which is St. Augustine. It's an old story from St. Augustine, when this man said to Augustine, I've been praying
Yeah.
for what? Gold. And why do you want gold? Because I'm poor. And what else, but what would you do with it? And he says, Augustine says to him, tell me about your life. He says, well, I have family and I have food and I have friends. And he said, that sounds like gold to me. He says, but I don't have real gold. And Augustine said, well, what would you do with it? Well, I would hire my friends and they would work for me and then I wouldn't have to work. And Augustine said, well, I can understand why God hasn't given you gold. Why? Because it would turn your heart into someone bitter and you would abuse your friends. And I can see why God has been so fair and just by not giving you the answer to your prayer, by not giving you what you think you want. He's protected you from the worst of you and given you the best of you.
But is God always fair and just?
Life on earth will never be fair the way we want it to be. It will never be for every one cause, there's one effect. There's not. There's millions of causes for millions of effects for every single breath we take.
You don't recognize that every choice you've ever made in your life is leading to whatever decision you're making in any given moment.
And not only that for every one choice we make, we're actually making 30 because of our emotions are making a choice, our mind is making a choice, our heart's making choices, our unconscious is making. So every moment we're probably making 500 million choices.
Okay, I got a really good question.
Yeah.
But I'm going to take a break and I'll really good.
You
though.
are,
It's really
you're good.
Really good. Coming up.
When your life path begins to harm you, you've taken a detour.
You know, I just had an aha listening to you. I love it when that happens to me. Be sure to keep in touch on Facebook and Twitter. I want to hear what y'all are thinking about Miss Carolyn Mace this Sunday. Super Soul Sunday. We'll be right back. So let me get back to the question I know everybody wants answered. That was really profound what you said about trying to hold on to what is not yours. So how do you know when you are on the right path? And what dream belongs to you, or what husband belongs to you, or what job belongs to you?
You know you're on the right path. Here's your clue. You're not put in a position to betray yourself. You don't betray yourself anymore. You're not put in a position where you feel like you have to negotiate your sense of integrity, which is an act of betrayal. Your heart, an act of betrayal. You don't feel like you have to compromise who you are. It feels right.
You can fully, I got that. It's like if you're at a job, you know you're really gifted and talented. People are not paying you for what you value yourself to be. You come into work every day feeling like I'm really not valued. I'm not being respected for what I do, or my boss is unkind, or whatever the situation might be. There's an unease with you.
That's right.
Yeah. And so when you have more respect for yourself, put yourself in a position where you can, feel your sense of value or worth.
Right.
That turns around.
That's right.
And that's how you know.
You know because you don't feel like this isn't costing me my power. This isn't costing me my psyche. This isn't costing me my soul.
Okay, this is really good.
This isn't costing me my sense of, I don't feel confused in some deep level. I'm not drained. I can be tired, after a day's work, but I'm not psychically drained where I feel like I'm losing life.
And losing myself.
And losing myself.
That's what a lot of people say, I'm losing myself.
myself. Why?
Okay.
Because I'm betraying myself in some way.
What is the difference? Because I have a lot of married friends. I've interviewed a lot of people over the years who are married, and everybody talks about how difficult, how, it's work, a relationship is work, it's work, it's work. What is the difference between betraying yourself and compromising? Because that's what you
Right.
have to do to get along.
I'd say that a compromise. Compromise is when you willingly, and out of love, say, that's it, all right, a little this, little that, little this, little that. But in a compromise, you don't go away feeling like I've betrayed myself. I've betrayed myself. I've allowed myself, I've put poison in my mouth here.
Okay, it goes back to exactly what you said earlier, that every choice is either going to enhance your spirit or it's going to drain your spirit. So if
Right.
you have been compromised to the point where you feel drained or depleted,
Right.
then you've betrayed yourself.
You have. I mean,
Okay.
and
I got
and
that.
the numbers of times someone will say to themselves, I want to get out of this circumstance, but I'm too afraid to take care of myself. So I will lie about how happy I am in this marriage. I will put up a front. I will lie about this. But they're betraying everything that's in their heart. They're betraying everything. When they say to me, am I on the right path? Here's what's true. You're on your right path. You're just not managing it that well right now.
You're never on the wrong
You're
path?
never on the wrong path. You're just not managing it well. You're making choices that are harming you. And that's why it's hurting right now. You're making unwise choices, and your intuition is trying to tell
You're
you
making
that.
unwise choices, including the path that you're on right now.
And the way you're managing the path you're on, and it's harming you.
Okay.
And when your life path begins to harm you, then we have to sit back and say, you've taken a detour.
I just had an aha listening to you. I love it when that happens to me. I've often thought that, and it's because of your use of the word betrayal, I've often thought, having experienced being betrayed by a close member of my family years ago, thinking that was the worst, that there's nothing worse than being betrayed. And just hearing you talk about it today, I think there's nothing worse than betraying yourself. That the worst, most ultimate betrayal is the betrayal to yourself.
You're right.
Yeah.
Especially conscious. When you have an opportunity to protect yourself
Yes.
and you choose otherwise, that's hard. That is hard. That's brutal. You're right.
And it's brutal because it's you saying to God, saying to the forces, to universal energy, that you're not worth protecting.
I think in some cases you're saying you're not worth protecting, and the other one is saying you are no different than the people who hurt you.
Big, big.
What's the difference between those people who hurt you and what you are doing to yourself?
That is so big. I am going to take a commercial break. That is big. Coming up, I hear that people say to you all the time, can you give me a prayer?
Can you give me a prayer that works? That works. You got something here that works.
Prayer, what it is and what it is not, may change the way you think about it. Back in a moment. How does grace work?
Works like this.
Oh, this is good. We're going to get the answer to that question.
Do you ever have that in an argument with someone where you got so fired up and you thought, ooh, I could just say this?
Yeah.
And all of a sudden the voice says, you sure you want to do that?
Yeah,
You sure you want to say that?
Yeah.
Because it's a game changer if you
Right.
say that.
Yeah, that's
That's
right.
grace.
that's grace.
The grace that comes in and says,
Yeah. Don't say that because you can never take it back.
you can never take it back.
Yeah, there's some places in an argument, everybody who's married knows this.
The voice that comes in and says, I'm gonna prevent you from doing something really ruinous right now. That's grace. Here's grace. Grace is the kind of thing that comes in and says, "You'll be all right," and goes away. Grace is the kind of thing that says, "Put your hand on that person just for a minute." And you could feel an energy go through you and an energy calm them down.
Yep.
And it doesn't give you an explanation.
No.
It just says, when you are flushed with worry and you think, am I going to be all right? And then you suddenly know, yes. Yes, you are.
Okay. Now, I tend to think that I live in the space of grace. I just feel that I'm flooded with it all the time. I see it I literally see it all the time. And then sometimes exactly what you described also happens. But I feel that, are we not in a constant state of grace?
Grace is a power that comes in and transforms a moment to something better.
Ooh, love that.
Okay?
Yeah.
It transforms this moment to something better, and it takes us with it.
So let's talk about prayer. What does the word prayer mean to you?
Oh, I love prayer so much. Prayer is truly it's an inner mystical awakening. To me, prayer is so many things, Oprah. Prayer is dialogue with God, okay? It's not petition. You know, most people know prayer through petition prayer.
Yeah.
Can I want?
Yeah, yeah.
You know, can I have more stuff?
Yeah.
Where's my stuff? But that's not really
not prayer.
the holiness of prayer. Prayer is when you withdraw from your five senses. I closed my eyes and I close my ears and I withdraw. And I go into a world where rational thought no longer commands and distracts my intellect.
Where rational thought
No longer commands me.
Okay.
Where I go inside and I think about, like, there's a Catholic saint I'm very enchanted by, named Teresa of Avila. Here's one of her prayers. Hover over me, God.
Hover.
Hover over me, God. Remind me you're there. Hover over me, God. I don't need more than that. What that does is it just reminds me of everything. Reminds me, be kind to that person. Be kind. Kindness is much better than anything else. Be kind.
Yeah. You know, my favorite line is actually from Marianne Williamson in her daily prayer. I think it's called a morning prayer from Illuminata. And there's a line that says, please enter where you already abide.
Right.
Yeah.
Isn't that beautiful?
Yeah, please enter where you already
Absolutely.
abide. So isn't it interesting that I hear that people say to you all the time, can you give me a prayer?
Can you give me a prayer that works? That works. You got something here that works. You know, right? They want magic.
Yeah.
They want magic. They want to take what they have and they want to get what they want. And prayer is truly saying, you know, there's a lot more pain that comes from answered prayers than unanswered ones. I got
Really?
news for you.
How so?
Because if people really got what they wanted, they would be in deep grief. This is why, you know how they say, be careful what you pray for?
Yes.
You might get it.
Yes.
There is a lot of wisdom to saying, I trust. I just trust. I don't know what is in my own best interest.
No judgment,
No expectation, and give up the need to know why
what to-
things happen as they do.
Now, what you're saying really sounds beautiful, and I know that if you are not in the habit of practicing being in the now and accepting what is, it's confusing when you first hear it. That's why when we come back, I want you to clarify, what is the difference between accepting what is and being able to move on in your life with grace, and accepting what is and having no ambition, and then you just never do anything.
Right.
Because
What can you change, and
'cause
what do you accept?
That's right. That's what I want to know. Because
Sure.
a lot of people think, well, then so I should just do nothing. I should
Right.
just sit around and be in the now all day long. We'll be right back.
What are you doing? I'm in the now.
I'm in the now.
I'm nowing.
We'll be right back. Coming up, how to tap into your intuition.
This is the voice of your conscience. It's the voice of your consciousness. It's the voice of your gut instinct.
And we'll go soul to soul with Carolyn Mace. What is your definition of God? Super Soul Sunday. We'll be right back. What is the difference between I'm going to accept and not resist? Because I have learned that what you resist only shows up more.
That's right.
Yeah, you're just building the muscle for that thing that you don't want. What is the difference between knowing how to surrender the thing and knowing when to surrender and
doing nothing.
and doing nothing?
A person has to try. A person has to put their energy into their own life and their own effort. You have to do that.
Yeah.
We have an intuitive voice in us. We are born intuitive. We are so intuitive that it's actually, for most people, the source of their greatest suffering, all right? That inner guidance tells us.
I'm just going to let you, I don't even know what you mean by that. How is your intuition, your intuitiveness, the cause of your greatest suffering? I think would be the opposite.
Oh, no.
No?
No, it isn't, Oprah. It's actually the source of people's greatest suffering.
Why?
Because people hear when they've betrayed themselves. People are very much aware when they are not honest with themselves.
Okay.
People, it's that voice that says, you shouldn't have said that. You know that's not right.
Or you're still with this person and you know you
Right.
should have left 20
Totally.
years ago. Yeah.
This is the voice of your conscience. It's the voice of your consciousness. It's the voice of your gut instinct.
okay,
It's
okay.
the voice you don't want to hear that never turns off.
Okay.
And when you follow this voice and you push, this is the part that says you should push and you should do this. So it's the part that keeps us moving and turning the wheel of our life. It's also the part that says you've done as much as you could now. This is it. You've done everything you can. So it's the part that will say that's as far as you can go.
Yeah.
It will guide you. It will say this is it.
So what you're saying is exactly what I've always believed and how I've operated. The being able to accept lives within the range of doing all that you can do. And when
right.
you have done everything
right.
that you can do, you
right.
surrender it.
That's it.
Let it go.
That's right.
To the power and energy that's greater than yourself.
That's it.
That's what you do.
That's right. You got to give it your all.
Give it your all.
Give it your all. Give it your best. And this inner voice.
And then not be attached to the outcome.
Totally. You got it. That's it.
So, did you always know these things? Were you intuitively attuned to knowing these things?
I was very intuitive from all my whole life. Yes.
Yeah. Your mother saw it in you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When I went to the world of medical intuition, and that whole life began, then my inner world developed very rapidly, very clearly along a certain line, and it just has been that ever since.
Okay, let's go to the big questions. I mean, you
Okay,
already answered all the big
questions.
Those were the big questions.
Give me a big question.
Okay, what is your definition of God?
Law. To me, God is law.
I've never heard that before.
Total. God to me is mystical law, because law is the nature of the universe. It is
The order of things.
The order. It's universal. It is consistent. It is the nature of life, and the negotiating principle with mystical laws is prayer. That's what makes them intimate. Miracle is when God bends these laws for you in an intimate way, and that's a miracle.
Well, I've never heard that before.
I'm not sentimental about God. I do not personalize God with emotion like love, and I don't go there.
And God's not a he or a her or a...
No, it's a complete legal, transcendent, cosmic force. Yeah.
Do you personalize ever and make intimate? Is God ever intimate with you?
But you know what's strange? Totally intimate and totally cosmic, both simultaneously.
Wow, that's a good God.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
not bad.
Yeah.
I'd market it, yeah.
Coming up, Do you have good days and bad days too, like regular
Oh,
folks?
come on. I take my calendar, bad day, good day, bad day, good day.
And then we find some breathing space in the waving tall grass of a Kansas prairie. Super Soul Sunday will be right back. Have you always considered yourself spiritual, or was there a moment, an aha, an epiphany, a revelatory experience?
No, I've always, I was so lucky. I was so ridiculously, no, I was blessed.
Bless.
I'll take the word luck out. No luck, I was blessed, totally blessed. Yeah, I never had that.
From your earliest memory, you were always connected to.
Well, I grew up in a house where my parents always said prayers literally at night with us.
Mm-hmm.
I had a little picture of an angel above my bed, and then I was educated,
You were raised Catholic.
raised Catholic.
Are you still practicing Catholic?
You know what? Do you know what Oscar Wilde said?
No.
I don't go to that place because they have all those gargoyles and all that other stuff. I don't live like a Catholic, but I'm going to die like one. And that's what's true.
That's what's true. What do you think happens when we die?
Well, I think our bodies obviously die. All life, I observe the law. All life dies. All physical life dies. I don't think...
And is transformed into another
Totally,
form
but
of
I don't
energy.
think we're afraid of death. I actually think one of the functions of grace is that we are not afraid of death.
When it actually shows itself?
Yeah, I think what we're afraid of is how we are going to die. We're not afraid of death. Because if you...
Interesting.
We've never been afraid of death. We're terrified of dying. The process, who isn't? I don't care to disintegrate and go through some kind of horrible death. Neither do you, neither does your family members. We don't want to say goodbye to each other. We don't want to look at each other in the face and say, fare thee well. I'll meet you on the other side.
Right.
We don't want to say that. That's heartbreaking. But we're not afraid to be dead because it's not possible. I assure you that. I promise you that. I promise you.
Yeah, Whitman said that too in Leaves of Grass, that we complain about it, but it may be the most exciting thing that's ever happened, actually, on the other side. All right, finish this sentence.
All right.
I believe in
God.
love is.
Beautiful. Healing. Perfect.
The person I most want to be proud of me is.
I think my mom. She's been my greatest sidekick, and I love her dearly.
I am ready to forgive.
That would be myself from some not so hot choices I've made in this life.
And you're ready to forgive?
I work on it. I'll get there.
Yeah. As a spiritual leader and teacher, one would think that you never have problems and that you're always in the flow and that you're connected to the law. Do you have good days and bad days too, like regular folks?
Come on.
Oh, come on.
Oh, come on. I take my calendar. Bad day, good day, bad day, good day. Absolutely. Are you kidding?
Is there something you're still striving for, or you are able to operate in that flow of grace most of the time?
I get back to center a lot easier. I absolutely do. I hold myself accountable, totally accountable. If I slip up, I do not take it out on. I don't say it's someone else's fault. I hold my own feet to the fire. I absolutely do. I'm real good about that. You know that? And I'm really good about also owning that I've become a pretty good person. You know, I think of myself now as like fine wine. I've reached that point in my life where I feel like it's time for me to treat myself better.
So you're going to actually practice what you teach.
Totally.
And give back to yourself more in this
Yeah.
next decade.
I am.
Yeah. That's great.
You got it.
Yeah. And I'm going to take my lesson from you. So I'm taking my cues from you.
All right.
Okay?
You got it.
Show me the way.
All right.
All right.
Promise.
You promise.
You got it.
That was great. In this week's Breathing Space, we watch the sunrise over the Kansas prairie. A preserved plot of earth, undisturbed, growing wild in its natural state. Bison roam free, grazing on endless fields of native grass. It has looked this way for hundreds of years. Here, the horizon is everything. Watching storms brew in the distance gives us a new perspective. As you watch the tall grass blowing here in the wind, consider your own natural state, your intuitive self, and trust that you're on the right path. See you next Sunday.